Because next up, we got number 6 Alabama beating number 11 Tennessee 37-20. Let's go over the highest graded player, starting off with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Their highest graded player was Ryan Williams. Kind of been an up and down sophomore year for him, but he was up in this one. 87.6 grade for the true sophomore star receiver. Cornerback Zabian Brown, another true sophomore who's a star for Alabama, 83.9. Another receiver here in Jeremy Bernard, 81.4. Another corner here in Red Morgan, 81.2. Caden Proctor, our guy, with a 78.3 grade at left tackle. And Ty Simpson with a really solid 73 grade in the win for Alabama. Let's go over to Tennessee now with their highest grade players in the loss. Running back to Sean Bishop, 79.9. Offensive tackle, true freshman offensive tackle, David Sanders Jr., 75.8. Great game there for the former top 10 recruit. Idris Farouk, the safety, 71.8. Joshua Josephs, the edge rusher, 70.7. Chris Brazel, the wide receiver, 69.7. And Joey Aguilar, the quarterback, with a 67.9 grade in the loss. Dalton, what told the story for you in this game?
This is a funky one because I know it's a 17-point win for Alabama, but I think just the Zabian Brown pick six at the end of the first half defined this whole game. I really do. You look at a lot of the underneath numbers, and this game was just about even. Tennessee outgained Alabama. The other three quarters were relatively even, especially the second half. That one play just flipped everything. It might
have been like a 14-point swing right there.
After that play, Tennessee, yes, they scored on their first drive of the second half, but the second half almost felt like a formality, didn't it? It was just like, how do you come back from that on the road when you were 1 yard from making this game 16-14, and in a span of 10 seconds, all of a sudden it's 23-7.
Yeah.
And you're playing a red-hot Alabama offense with Ty Simpson. Ryan Williams got going early in this game. Jeremy Bernard was really good. And I'm not saying, that 16 points is insurmountable. We see these comebacks, especially in college football, all the time. But that one singular play to me felt like it just totally took the wind out of Tennessee's sails. And even you look at the grading and things like that, they're relatively even. All the other numbers in this game say, hey, these are two pretty even football teams. And that one giant mistake, like you mentioned, that essentially made for a 14-point swing, I think that was it. I think if it's 16-14 going into half and Tennessee's coming off a touchdown, and then they maybe go and score in the first drive of the second half the same way they did, you got yourself an Alabama team in real danger at home. But Zabian Brown making the play. And for Alabama's defense, this has now been a theme 4 weeks in a row, right? There's times where they stagger and, it's not great. The pass rush can be inconsistent and things like that. But 4 weeks in a row, you're talking about season-defining plays, okay? Yep. The fourth down stop against Georgia late in the game, fourth and 1, right, when Georgia ran the hurry up. They got the stop there. Vanderbilt, the 2 red zone turnovers, right? They weren't overall spectacular all the way through in that game on defense, but the 2 red zone turnovers, 2 of the biggest plays of the season. Missouri, the 2 Bo Prabula interceptions and the stop on the fake punt at Missouri's own 40 or wherever that was. And then you have this pick six. Alabama's defense right now, over and over and over, is making the biggest plays of the game, and they did it again in one play from Zabian Brown. Completely flipped this game in Alabama's favor when it looked like obviously it was a close game and Tennessee's still really good and they were driving in to go down 2 at halftime. And these season-defining plays on defense. The offense has been consistently, after the Florida State game, pretty darn great, but this defense is making plays at the right time in every single game they're playing right now. If they continue to do that, Bama's going to be really hard to beat because you just can't make those big mistakes against a team with an offense also this good.
Yeah, you mentioned it was a pretty even game all around. Well, one matchup that I thought would be pretty even going into it and why I talked about it in the preview was Alabama's offensive line against Tennessee's pass rush, because Alabama's been really good at protecting Ty Simpson in this game. Tennessee's pass rush is top 10 in the country in pass rush grade, but it was not even because Alabama dominated up front with the offensive line, an 89.6 pass blocking grade for Alabama. Great bounce back for that offensive line after not really playing that well against Missouri. They played really well against a similarly talented pass rush that Tennessee had too. 0 sacks, only 2 hits allowed on 35 pass attempts in this game for Alabama. Only 5 total pressures allowed by Alabama for a 14% pressure rate. All 5 of Alabama's starting offensive linemen earned at least a 79 pass blocking grade in this game. Alabama was my number one offensive line in the country entering the year, and they're proving why right now. Because when you have an offensive line that is pass protecting as well as Alabama is right now, and a quarterback in Ty Simpson that is as lethal from a clean pocket as he is, this is why Alabama can win a national title this year. Because if you have a quarterback like that and an offensive line like that and a receiving core with Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, and guys like that, and a defense that makes big-time plays that you just mentioned right there, Dalton, Alabama is absolutely in the inner circle right now of teams that can win a national title this year.
They might be. I mean, I would put Ohio State. I think they're rightfully number one. They sure look like the best team in the country. You could argue, Indiana's undefeated. You have them number two. That's fine for the work they've done. But you could argue Alabama's the second or third best team in the country right now. And any day that Ty Simpson's only pressured on 20% of his dropbacks, any day that the offensive line only gives up 5 pressures and Simpson's only hit twice all night, they're going to win that football game because Simpson's too good in clean pockets. It might not have been a 90 passing grade this week. He had a 73 this week, which is still very solid, especially considering you're playing a big SEC game against a top 12 team. But no, this offensive line now, it feels like after some early struggles against Florida State, especially in that first game, that they've really found their groove. And this is the unit we were expecting. And it's more than just 5 guys. I mean, they're playing 7, 8 guys up front, rotating at guard, rotating at that right tackle spot with Formby and Carroll. Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb, they're finding the right formula. They're keeping these guys fresh. And, man, how good has Caden Proctor been at left tackle? I mean, just
and wide receiver.
And wide receiver and fullback and quarterback and wherever else you need him. I mean, it feels like a story all the time. But the work, please, honestly. But, I mean, the work at left tackle he's been doing is the most important, and he's just been outstanding, too, off the blind side. And, for a quarterback like Simpson, who can move, but he's not Cam Newton or something back there, you didn't get really any pressure from the interior in this game. And that's big time for a guy in Ty Simpson who does want to operate from the pocket. So you're right, Alabama's offensive line has got it clicking. It's going to take a really good pass rush. And Missouri. Look, Missouri got pressure last week and Alabama still found a way to win. This offensive line has given Ty Simpson a lot of chances to succeed.
This is a Tennessee pass rush that is elite. Right? This is a top 10 team in the country in pass rush grade this year. It's not like Tennessee is like Georgia or even like Alabama, for example, who doesn't really have a great pass rush. This was a great pass rush on paper, and Bama stonewalled them in this game. So this is a statement performance, I think, from Bama's front 5 in this one. Dalton, who impressed you the most, though, in this game?
I think, look, Alabama, and it was odd to see Ryan Williams not get a touch last week. But we know how much better they are when Ryan Williams is involved. And I like that they made a point early in this game to get him involved. 5 catches, 87 yards. 4 of those went for first downs. Also had a 16-yard carry. And then you got Jeremy Bernard playing like a monster on the other side, right? And Bernard's been consistent all year, probably more consistent than Williams. He had 5 for 60 himself and 4 carries for 49 yards, making 6 guys miss with regards to tackling. You have these top 2 guys both playing like this. Now, if they can just get Ryan Williams in this type of rhythm every single week with the explosive plays he can create. And again, I love that Ryan Grubb went to him early in this game. Look, you're not going to win the SEC. You're not going to win a national title without number 2 being that guy, right? And I know he's a true sophomore, and the expectations were so high coming into this year, but they are so much better. Honestly, just so much more fun to watch, right? With Ryan Williams playing the way he played last night.
It feels like what the Eagles should do with A.J. Brown. Like, get him involved early and often. Keep him involved in the game. He's your superstar receiver. Like, just get him involved and keep him involved.
Well, because it's constantly when you have multiple guys, too, and Isaiah Horton was really good, I thought, last night, too. And then the run game the run game wasn't spectacular yesterday, but it's always, I say this all the time, you have certain guys with that gravitational pull, that it's Ryan Williams, or on a lot of plays, it's the idea of Ryan Williams, right? You mentioned that with A.J. Brown. Well, Brown getting the doubles eventually when you target him, then Devontae Smith, then Dallas Goedert, then the run game, then everything else starts working. I just love that Ryan Grubb came out and made Ryan Williams the first domino instead of like last week against Missouri. I don't want to say working around him, but there just wasn't a focus on. This guy is too good not to get the football, not to get 8 to 10 targets in a game. This week he had 5 catches. That worked in this game against Tennessee, but I would expect that to ratchet up even more, especially then you can see it, the balance that it brings with Bernard, then with Horton, then we can start running the ball when everybody gets too high. It's just the right combination right there. So if that continues, this team's going to be so hard to stop now, because I think that's the one thing that's been holding them back is just Ryan Williams just needing to be more consistent, obviously catch the football, but also work him into the game plan, feature him, treat him like he's the superstar player that he is.
So, Dalton, my ears are ringing right now because I'm sure when we look at the comment section later on in this video, every single Alabama fan's going to be like, where is Jon Pierre on that graphic? He just missed out on being one of the 5 highest grade players on our for Alabama. I have to shout him out here, though, because what a game for him. 2 sacks, 1 hit, 6 pressures, and only 18 pass rush snaps, a 33% pressure rate in this game. And what a much-needed performance that Alabama needed from Jon Pierre as well, because they had so many injuries to their front seven, to a front seven that was really underperforming pass rush-wise this season. Pierre stepped in as a backup in this game as a redshirt sophomore, and he shined against Tennessee's offensive line. He showed why he was a 5-star recruit in the 2023 high school class. I know he was a backup going into it. This guy should get a lot more playing time with this kind of performance right here. I mean, even when others get healthy for Alabama right now, because Alabama needs pass rushers like that on their defense, and Jon Pierre was a star against Tennessee in this game.
Agreed. My biggest concern about Alabama's defense coming into the season was what else do they have in the pass rush other than LT Overton, right? And it's good that he can move inside or outside and get a consistent pass rush going, but who is going to be that second or even third guy? And over the last 3 weeks, it's been Jon Pierre. He's got 15 pressures over the last 3 weeks, and I think this is really a huge development for their defense, because now if it's not just LT Overton, we've talked before about Alabama, they've been struggling to rush the passer. If Pierre is going to continue to play like this, and even as the rotation gets deeper and those other guys get healthy, you still bring this guy in all those pass rush situations because he's getting it done. He's applying pressure to these quarterbacks. He was a big part of the safety being forced as well early in the game. I think this is a guy who's a difference maker right now. Maybe he's not perfect. He's not, an elite run defender. He's good enough, right? This is actually his first game of the year without a missed tackle. That's something we can work on and get more consistent with too. But the fact that he just generates pressure on a team that, aside from Overton, we were not sure where they were going to generate pressure, that's a huge development going into the second half of the season.
And even LT Overton and Tim Keenan, love those two players. I would say they're better run defenders than pass rushers right now. So if you get a pass rusher like Jon Pierre, I mean, like I said, they need that, right? Because Alabama's right now one of the worst pass rushing teams in the Power 4. But if you get a guy like Jon Pierre who can kind of carry that unit right now like this, all of a sudden that becomes a much more dangerous unit for Alabama this year. But great win for Alabama nonetheless over a top 15 team in Tennessee. And Alabama probably moving up to like maybe number 4, number 5 in the AP poll. We'll reveal where they are in my ranking later on in the show. But
4 sounds about right because A&M won, tough win over Arkansas. They'll probably be 3 in Alabama.
I'll spoil it. Right. I have Alabama 4.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. I think that's kind of the obvious way to go about it.
How about that? Alabama, who started off 4 for me in the preseason after they lost to Florida State, like, oh boy, what's going to happen to Alabama this year? Right back to number 4, right where they started. So, hey, they're as good as we thought they were. So the Alabama, good call by you, Dalton. There's not really been a lot of good calls by really anyone for a national title pick just yet. Ohio State's still the favorite. I'm still saying that, of course. Alabama's right there too. So
we're alive right now. It just feels good to be done.
Done
with week 8 and still alive.
I'm dead. I got 4 losses to my national champion.
You're getting all the upsets going. Though.
Yeah,
I
am. I am. In good and bad ways for me this year.
We'll flip this around this year, I guess.